Wir werden jetzt zu unserer letzten Rede des Tages kommen. Das wäre einmal die Rede des Honorable Harin Fernando, der Minister für Land und Tourismus.
Good evening. Her Excellency, Ambassador for Sri Lanka in Germany, Ms. Varuni, Her Excellency Ms. Varuni, and also my chairman, Chalaka Gajabao of Sri Lanka Tourism Promotional Bureau, the officials, dignitaries of the table, friends of media. It honestly gives me great pleasure to be here, the biggest travel fair in the world, and I'm delighted to say 6 months ago, about 7 months ago, Sri Lanka was not in this situation that we could have dreamt of, being here with such a large number. Today, the stall of Sri Lanka looks vibrant. It looks very enthusiastic. The enthusiasm is showing on everybody's faces. There is hope. And Sri Lanka is a resilient nation. We've all gone through many problems in our 75 history of independence. After the independence, we had a 30-year brutal war. We battled it out. We came out of it. And unfortunately, last year, we had a political as well as a social unrest in Sri Lanka, which is no secret. But unfortunately, media has over-sensationalized all of what Sri Lanka is going through. It is very unfortunate, and one of the reasons why we have come in numbers to Germany, to our friends, is to say that Sri Lanka is back and it's normal. I remember as a kid going on the coastal belt, there were many restaurants with German flags. Many people, many German families still reside in Sri Lanka, and we need that back in Sri Lanka. Unfortunately, the social media today is so strong. Everybody becomes a journalist in their own ways, and sometimes countries like Sri Lanka really suffer with negative and misinformation. So therefore, at the outset, the video that we played was just to show you in December how we celebrated. We had massive carnivals, we had parties. Yes, true, we had a political huge issue. When I took over as a tourism minister, even the last tourist was leaving the country. There were travel advisories saying not to come to Sri Lanka. But we were able to change a lot of things inside Sri Lanka by now. We went through a financial crisis. We declared bankruptcy. But now, within a very short time, we slowly recovered. Yesterday, it was one of the best news that we got. Is on March 20th, IMF is granting our first loan to Sri Lanka. Even without that, at the crisis time, we were able to manage the tourists. We were able to give them a special fuel quota for the travel agents. Electricity was supplied because in May, this is what people still keep talking, Sri Lanka had a power crisis, we had a fuel crisis, we had a food crisis. Some people ask us when we go, do you have food to eat in Sri Lanka? Does any one of us look like we are in hunger? We all eat too much. And Sri Lanka isn't having any problem like that. As I said, Sri Lanka is a very hospitable nation. We would not let anybody down, even us, even any human. Sri Lanka is a good example. When COVID happened, there were many people who got stuck, stranded with airports being closed, and there were Sri Lankan communities who kept people, foreigners, for over months and months until the countries opened up. That's Sri Lankan's hospitality. All what we have to give is our heart and our smile, and Sri Lankans have done that, and that's why people have fallen in love with Sri Lanka. It's a beautiful place. I would say it's a miracle if it's on its own. Unfortunately, I believe politicians in the country, which I am one to, we sit on a treasure and have not really marketed our treasure well. What don't we have? Within 2 hours, by road, you can have all 4 seasons. You can have the coldest weather. Coldest in Sri Lanka is not as this cold, but at least it goes up to 8 to 10 degrees, which is quite cold, which is decently cold for you all. And we have the summer, you go to the beach, you go to the surfing, you go to the whale watching, you go for your mountain climbing, hiking. So there are lots of new things Sri Lanka is doing, and one thing that we really want to market now is our wellness tourism. We have a very big, strong wellness tourism package, and I've met a lot of Germans who come to Sri Lanka for wellness, the Ayurvedic treatments, as well as the sun, the power, the positive energy, the yoga, the meditation. It has become very famous in Sri Lanka. Traditional was the beach, but Sri Lanka is no longer only the beach. I know lots of people go to Maldives, but Maldives just have the beach. I'm not criticizing, but you stay there for 5 days, you get fed up of it. That's it, you're just in an island, you're caught up in one place. But Sri Lanka, it's not like that. It's what you want, you can get. There is something for everyone. If you're older, if you're younger, if you want to adventure, we just started with the European Union a thing called a Pico Trail. A Pico Trail is where you would do a trail right on the mountain, so 22 days. So you don't have to finish it within 22 days, but you can take it on stages. You do the first stage for about 4 days, and then you go to the beach, you rest about 5 more, 6 days, and then you go back to your country. But when you're on the destination, shivering cold, your memory will be at the Pico Trail to finish the next 4 days. So that's a concept that we have built in Sri Lanka. What we want Sri Lanka is not to be a bucket list, where you tick like you go to Thailand, I've been to Thailand. No, Sri Lanka isn't that. Sri Lanka is something that we want to offer more. Us, our hospitality, our love, our care, and our beautiful country. And what we have, when it comes to religious tourism, we are a very diverse nation. We have all religions, we respect every religion, and we even respect certain beliefs. So Sri Lanka has all that it has to offer, and all I could say, without going further and further and further, is that you need to visit next flight before you leave the ITB. Go make your booking to Sri Lanka, because you would not regret. My colleague from Sri Lankan Airlines is here, and Dimutu will explain. I will, after my speech, just hand it over to him what they have signed with DB to connect to Sri Lanka through Etihad, Qatar and Sri Lankan Airlines. It's a code share, I think. I probably think of it. It's a code share, right? If you can just explain it, I'll take it. This expensive.
Yeah, we have signed an agreement with DB Deutsche Bank. I hope I pronounce it correctly. From 5,600 train stations around Germany and even Brussels and even Austria, Switzerland, we can purchase a through ticket from the station to Sri Lanka via Frankfurt. And we also operate 3 flights a week from Frankfurt Airport, Frankfurt to Colombo. This continues every week. And these connections from the trains will continue. And also we do have code share from other places, from India, from Abu Dhabi, Qatar. Sri Lankan tickets can be purchased throughout these cities, plus Sri Lankan Airlines direct flight from Frankfurt.
Yes, so I would say that that's a great achievement, and thank you Sri Lankan Airlines for organizing and getting this sorted out. And there are so many connections. Qatar Airways flies 4 times to Sri Lanka. Emirates flies 4 times a day to Sri Lanka. So what we did, as I said, it was a huge challenge when I took over in May, just to get Sri Lanka back on track, just to get tourists to come in. And I'm so glad to say, from June, July, August, September, October, November, we had only 230,000 tourists. But December, January alone, we had more than 340,000 tourists traveling in. This month, the first 6 days, number 1 is one country, number 2 is India, number 3 is Germany, number 4 is United Kingdom, and number 5 is France. So we're looking at the Germans to improve the market. It's just the negativity that surrounds Sri Lanka, saying Sri Lanka has issues. You go to see France has today over 1 million people on the road protesting. Protests happen in the world, there is a crisis, there is a recession going around. But trust us, tourism industry and Sri Lankans know the value of tourists and to respect the tourism. We are also launching one of the first kind of its app where you'll be able to have all the security features in it. As you land in Sri Lanka, you just can scan the barcode, and every restaurant, every tuk-tuk you go into, you can just check in on that, so that the real security of a tourist will be looked after. And also, not only that, purchasing tickets to wildlife parks, purchasing tickets into various other institutes could be done through this app. And also it will be in 7 languages, and there will be a 24/7 call center for any tourist in a case of emergency. We looked into all of these aspects, and as I said, I'm delighted to see Air France flying into Sri Lanka, Swiss Air flying into Sri Lanka, Lufthansa flying into Sri Lanka, and so many other airlines, and we're just opening up to China as well from April, which we will have 6 flights. And I'm sure the numbers of Sri Lanka is going to increase. Just for the media purpose, one of the new countries that we will really work hard with is Japan, because Japan and Sri Lanka has a huge friendship, huge history through Buddhism, and we have a direct flight from Sri Lanka, but we've never ventured into tourism with Japanese. So again, wellness will be one thing that they'll be very interested, as well as the Buddhism, the pilgrim tours. I'm not going to keep it long, I'll keep it for your questions. Sri Lanka dollar has got appreciated the last week, every single day the dollar has, the rupee has appreciated. We were paying a humongous rate in the dollar, but it's coming down very fast, and on the 20th when the IMF comes in, I am quite positive it will come further down by December. Trust me, Sri Lanka will be back to where it was and stronger. So everything that happened to us seems to be like a blessing in disguise, and we are going strong. And it's a beautiful nation that you should visit. And I hope all of you members of the press would be, we will invite, like Chalaka, my chairman just informed, we will take few of you. We are having 1,000 bloggers, Instagrammers, coming into Sri Lanka this year alone. We are sponsoring 1,000 bloggers and Instagrammers to Sri Lanka just to promote for them to see, because Instagram, Twitter, TikTok has become very famous among the young and the older generation to find locations. So we're working on it, and we're working on with another company who has the most highest views in the world to do a few videos for Sri Lanka, just to show Sri Lanka is normal. So I urge, please, the media, try to speak to Chalaka. If you're interested to come to Sri Lanka, come, go have a look, go have a visit, experience Sri Lankan hospitality. If you're not sure of what I'm saying, please come, see it, because I say seeing is believing, and once you go to Sri Lanka, that will remain in your heart, and that I'm certain. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Vielen Dank. Wie bereits angesprochen, gab es Probleme in Sri Lanka. Das ist bewusst, das wissen alle. Die Sache ist, die wurden sehr hoch gepusht von der Presse, und Sri Lanka versichert uns, dass diese Probleme beseitigt wurden, dass es überall Probleme gibt, aber sie hart daran arbeiten, die zu verbessern. Und das Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau ist bereit, das nicht nur zu versichern, sondern auch das zu beweisen. Das heißt, das Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau lädt Journalisten ein, sich gerne für Pressereisen vorzustellen, sich gerne an das Tourismusbüro zu wenden und Pressereisen vorzuschlagen, damit sie das Land selber kennenlernen können und wissen können, wie es dort wirklich ist, und nicht nur das beglauben müssen, was andere ihnen erzählen. Wir haben heute einen dieser Journalisten bei uns, der bereits nach Sri Lanka gereist ist. Das wäre einmal der Rainer Schubert vom Business and Diplomacy, und ich würde ihm jetzt das Mikro übergeben, damit er Ihnen erzählen kann, wie es in Sri Lanka wirklich ist.
I would just like to share one information that just came to my phone just now. It says LKR, it's Sri Lankan rupee, emerges the best performing currency in the world. Following an improvement of the dollar liquidity in the domestic forex market, the CBS said the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, floating the currency this week, LKR has emerged as the best performing currency against the USD in the world. As of last Friday, the average daily interbank USD volume stood at a record $78 million against 42 million in a week before. So we doubling our thing. So very happy about it and proud of Sri Lanka.
I will take the opportunity to go to this place so that I can see my bag. Well, which one? This one? Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about my experiences in Sri Lanka. It was last December. By chance, it was the week of Christmas, and I experienced the Christmas celebration in Sri Lanka. So every hotel was full of Christmas dinners and something like that. First of all, it is my pleasure to thank for the opportunity to talk here, and I have to fully appreciate the determination and the preciseness with which Sri Lanka is trying to stir up again its tourism with the extreme perfect work of the tourism office. I really appreciate that. And I also thank you, Honourable Minister, for your openness concerning the situation of the country. This is the reason why many people may have concerns to travel there, and I can assure you it is not correct what you see and read. Even the travel warning of the Federal Foreign Office is not consistent with the reality. There is no shortage, there's nothing that you can complain about. It is first of all the great hospitality of the country. It is the great diversity that you have seen from the photos. My 1 week focused only on the mountain region of Kandy and Novara Elia, which is very comfortable for Europeans to visit in the winter because it is, well, even the weather reminds of the British period. It is 20 degrees centigrade, sometimes rainy and extremely comfortable. And even in this small part of the country, you can see the variety of offers that Sri Lanka can give to you. You see eco lodges. You can have the opportunity to hike. You have rafting. You have all over the country extremely good boutique hotels. This is, I think, something very particular I experienced. You do not find all those well-known hotel chains. You have lots of boutique hotels and hotels that are owned and run by Sri Lankan business people with great hospitality. And the hotels are from guest house to first-class hotels with a very high standard and an extremely hospitable staff. So it is, I think, really worth to visit the country because of the variety, the diversity, and the determination of the people to get back on the map of tourism. Thank you very much.
Vielen Dank. We would open up the floor to questions now. Wenn Sie Fragen haben, können Sie die jetzt stellen. Wir werden sie gerne beantworten.
Sir, two questions. First of all, how about the visa fees, and do you get visa on arrival? First question. Second question, I've been traveling to the north quite a lot before the pandemic. So how about the tourist development in Jaffna and Trincomalee in the east?
I'm very impressed that you know Sri Lanka so well.
Yeah, I've lived there, I've worked there, and I've been reporting about Sri Lanka very often. Yeah.
Thank you so much. First and foremost, yes, about the visa fees, it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's $50, but we have different packages where you can take multiple for 1 year, or 5 years, it's 250. I'm sorry, I'll just give you that information, it's on my phone. But it's about $50 and it's on arrival. It's on an ETA system which you can take it online. But we are on the process of getting a VFS center in 142 countries. Like any other nation, a VFS will be handling Sri Lankan visas as well. So let's say travel agents could just send the visas and get it stamped, or through the VFS they could online get the visa immediately as well. So, but there is currently the visa is not just 1 month; it's for 6 months. Each stay is up to 30 days, if I'm not mistaken. And also there is a 5-year visa, which is about $200, which is multiple travel. So I would be sharing these details with you. I'm just offering a comment exactly because we made some changes. There was something and there were some amendments that came through cabinet on that. But about the north, well, that's a beautiful place. It's Sri Lanka's next. In my opinion, the next heaven of Sri Lanka, because it has the Delf Islands, the islands that is in there is just uncomparable to many places. But since I am the lands minister as well, most of the lands of Sri Lanka comes under our ministry, and the rest comes under the tourism ministry. So either way, the lands come under us, and we are on the process of seeking development. That's another message that I want to give all the Germans. We are going to have an investment forum for tourism. So there are lots of properties, islands in Kalpiti, where whales are there. There are islands in the north of part of it, especially in the east coast, Pasiguda. And also one thing that we are developing in my next meeting is with Air Maldives, trying to get 2 aircrafts to do domestic travel in Sri Lanka, because Sri Lanka Airlines is not in a capacity, even though my good friend Timothy is on the corner. They are still on a recovery process after the collapse of Sri Lanka, but they're doing pretty well. And yes, and also we opened up the Palali airport, which is an international airport, which has all the international features. Where there is 4 days, four flights a week from Alliance Express from Chennai, and they're going to make it 7 days, so they have access. But one access that we need to have is Colombo to Palali or Colombo to Jaffna flight. So that also, there is a private party which has taken 2 aircrafts from Air Force on a wet lease and developing it as a proper 2 aircrafts, 72-seater aircrafts. And if they are on this aircraft also starts operating, we'll have one for China Bay daily, Hinguragoda, which you can go to Sikri and all of those areas, and we will have Jaffna flight daily. And most of the charter aircrafts comes to another international airport, which is Matala. So all in all, within this year, there'll be humongous amount of development with regards to tourists that will happen, because right now Sri Lanka has only 40,000 rooms official registered, but there is the other sector of another about 50,000 rooms with homestays, etc., guest houses. So Sri Lanka is still comparatively small in numbers, so what we can handle for a year would be about 2.5 to 3 million tourists. But like this gentleman said, there is unbelievable amount of villas, high-end villas in Sri Lanka. Can't remember her name. I'm sure you all have watched X-Files. The lady of the X-Files, she has Gillian. She has one of the world's top bungalows, top 50 bungalows, and one of them is in Sri Lanka, which is owned by her. So there's lots of tourists, lots of foreigners owning property in Sri Lanka. Welcome you all to come and buy a place there. Build a nice villa, have your holiday home there. You will not regret.
Thank you.
Do we have any further questions? Haben Sie weitere Fragen?
Afternoon, Mr. Bletchner. I have been several times in Sri Lanka, and I have no doubt that Sri Lanka will overcome the crisis. But how far is the risk that with the IWF help programs and the restructuring of the Sri Lankan economy, the inflation will rise again in double digit? And second question, could you tell us more about new destinations in the eastern part of Sri Lanka, which could be very interesting for tourists? Thank you.
Good question. Again, IMF, for me as a personally a politician who, I can't say that I'm young because I just hit my 40s, but for somebody in my era, I would say the IMF structure is very good. States like Sri Lanka always was a welfare state. They keep giving people free things and made people more poorer. For politicians, aspirations, I would say. So unfortunately, we needed some structure in a country like Sri Lanka, you know. As I said before I concluded my speech last, I said this is a blessing in disguise. Our electric tariffs are quite high, but Sri Lanka is a tropical country. Why not invest on solar power? And we have sun every day. And these are things that politicians did not do. And maybe IMF coming into Sri Lanka was the ideal time because they made changes in our tax policies. I mean, people in Sri Lanka who are protesting on the road are not the people who are paying the taxes. That's the most unfortunate thing. So it's clear that that is being promoted by the political parties just to get their political mileage. So that happens everywhere in the world. In Sri Lanka, only about 20 to 30% pay taxes. Only they are affected. So that's on the ground, that's on the road. It's the people who are not. But the taxes are taken to make sure that the country has, we have free medicine, we have free education, so we have free health and free education. So we need to support all of that. And things in the world is not any way cheaper. Therefore, there were lots of formulas IMF introduced, fuel formulas, electricity formulas. And I as a person, if you run a corporate company, these are things that you would do to make sure that your country is profitable or your company is profitable. So therefore, I reckon IMF will actually, in the long run, do good to the country, and politicians in Sri Lanka would learn anymore not to be just a welfare state and just give people free things so that they get poorer and poorer and not become ambitious to win life. That's number one. And number two, for your question of new locations, there's various of ones we're promoting. One of the major things that we're going to promote very soon is marine tourism. And Sri Lanka has more than 142 shipwrecks around Sri Lanka. Just now, a Maldivian company called Universal, which is one of the biggest companies, just came and approached us wanting to do yacht parks in Sri Lanka. As you know, most of the Indian rich film Bollywood owners and the business people, they don't have yacht parks. They keep their yachts parked in Dubai. But it's just a 1 hour flight to Sri Lanka, or 35, 45 minutes. If they come on the private jet, they can get into their yacht very soon. So we are developing on that, and we are doing a marine tourism. Addicts is another magazine which is going to promote Sri Lanka and launch Sri Lanka in Singapore this month. And in October, we're having a massive festival. There is a guy in Pali who swam from Tokyo to San Francisco. He's going to swim around Sri Lanka within 24 hours with his crew to get the attention for Sri Lanka and the marine tourism that we're doing. On the East Coast, it's the beach, it's new locations, it's certain new high-end stuff that we are planning. We've got a few more balloons, hot air balloons to Sri Lanka from Cappadocia in Turkey, and we are promoting it on our Yala, where people can have an aerial shot of the, like in Tanzania, on the wildlife, which is going to be something very attractive. We're trying to find investors for skydiving schools. You go up there, you see Sri Lanka, it's a beautiful place where it's like covered with green and then water. So it's something that any diver would like to see. So those are things that we are trying to do and introduce. And I'm quite certain within this year we can execute all of this.
Vielen Dank. Haben Sie noch weitere Fragen?
Yeah, sorry.
Minister, I just want to add something about tourism in the north and east. I think there is a lot of prospect to develop tourism in the northern and eastern parts of Sri Lanka, especially when it comes to community level. In the southern and central areas, you have a lot of homestays. I think it started off in a very humble way, but over the years it has grown in numbers, and it has brought a lot of economic benefits to otherwise like untapped area of the economy. I mean, it started off very small. I think the government has recognized that sector. So that has not really taken off in the northern and eastern parts of the country. So personally, that is something that I would like to pursue during my time here, because the government is also, the current government is approaching the overseas Sri Lankans. I mean, there's a large Sri Lankan diaspora, including in Germany, so we are hoping that with their assistance, they will contribute to the development of Sri Lanka, and tourism is one such area that we are looking at. So I think tourism board can also help, and perhaps the German government can also, I mean, because we are getting a lot of assistance from the German government for vocational training. So that is something that holds a lot of potential to, I mean, to uplift the economic situation of at community level in the northern and eastern parts of Sri Lanka. And also that part is beautiful. I mean, that due to the, it's not very, I mean, that's not a part that is, that has a lot of tourism infrastructure, but it has a charm of its own. So I hope that in the future we can have more tourist attractions. I mean, there are a lot of attractions for example, like culturally, there's a very famous Hindu Kovil, Nallur Kovil, that attracts Ramayana trail.
Bird watching.
Yeah, bird watching and whale watching. So many attractions. So we have a lot of potential, and we hope to really look into that aspect. Thank you.
Yeah, one last point on North again. CNN recently rated North as one of the top 20 destinations which is not explored. There's CNN rated North being in the top 20 in unexplored territories in the world. Yeah, and then recently, last month, Sri Lanka became the 7th most Instagrammable tourist destinations in the world as well. So there are a lot more coming up in the future. Thank you.
Vielen Dank. Wenn Sie keine Fragen mehr haben, würden wir Sie Ihnen noch mit einem kurzen Video zum vorher schon benannten Pico-Trail auf den Weg schicken. Wir wünschen Ihnen noch viel Spaß mit dem Video und eine tolle ITB.
New additions.
Es war sicherlich ein Ort, an dem jeder frei sein konnte. Dieser Ort ist von außergewöhnlicher Schönheit und Frieden. Ich war gefangen im täglichen Arbeitszirkus, bis ich hier endlich wieder die Freiheit und den Komfort fand, um zutiefst zu entspannen. Das sollten Sie gesehen haben. Kommen auch Sie. Ich denke, jeder kann auf dem Pico Trail seinen Seelenfrieden